Welcome. In this short video, I will be explaining how to use PowerPoint as a visual aid. Because you've barely seen any good PowerPoints in your life. Most of the time you see PowerPoints being used, it's being used by teachers. And teachers have a tendency to do the following. They try to pack a lot of information, a lot of text on a slide. And they've taught you a rule that illustrates what they're doing. You probably know the 771. You can write 7 words on one line, have 7 lines of text on one slide. There's a problem with that because obviously people read faster than you speak. People will lose focus in what you're saying because they can read faster than you speak. People will love to try to make sense of the text on your slide more than listening to your words because it's more intellectually challenging. They won't be watching you, but they will be reading the text on your slide, which is not necessarily a problem if you're a bad presenter. A lot of text is also very boring, and by that I mean very, very, very boring. And of course, you're already finished reading the last line while I was still talking about the audience losing focus in what you're saying. So you've been dreaming away for about a minute while I was trying to make a point here. So forget about the 771. I'm going to try and convince you that there's something better to do. What you'll normally do, once you know that text isn't everything, is obviously to choose pictures instead. And if I let you start now, most pupils will come up with something like this. Suppose you're going to talk about a song that's perfect for sporting. I'm just going to give something very general. You'll have like a title at the top, which is information now, and then you have some pictures. We've got a man running, we've got a man walking, we've got a girl cycling. And we'll talk about these 3 pictures in our presentation, which is a good start. It's not bad. It's picture based. Not the pictures are clear, but it could be better. When you think about it, the pictures are very small, and you're going to talk about each picture for, let's say, 20 to 30 seconds probably, so you can easily do it in another way. First of all, I would say, if you compare this to the previous picture or previous slide, you'll notice that this is more uniform. The 3 pictures have the same colors more or less. It's more balanced than this, where the first picture stands out because it's very bright. This is more balanced. Try to pick a certain style if you can for one slide. If you can do that, your slide will be better. People will like this slide more than this slide. Next thing I would advise you to do is to choose one image and put it in a slide. So I've picked this one now, the first, and I've made it big. Why? Because you want your pictures to be clear. Your visuals should make an impact. Very important. This image makes a lot more impact when I talk about running than the previous one. This is big. This is like a smack on your face. If I would add text, it would be this. And it doesn't add anything to it because I already mentioned you that this is about impact. So I think it's weak to add text here. The image speaks for itself here. It makes impact because it's bigger. You could obviously make your text bigger if you want to make impact. Not bad, but you could even do it better and think image-based. What image makes impact? Well, we could add a car crash to it. That has a certain impact. If this car hit that man, it would make a lot of impact. So if I have this, which is crappy Photoshop, it's funny because obviously it's crappy Photoshop, but you also recognize the fact that I was talking about impact with this picture just a few minutes ago, and I've added something to it to illustrate the impact. This is a picture that makes you think about what is he possibly going to say about this picture. And it makes you laugh, which is an extra. If your audience laughs, they'll love you more. So if you can make them laugh, do that. unless you're of course bringing very sad news, it always works. Um, so this is a good picture, and I would certainly try to add something like this to your PowerPoint, not necessarily Photoshop, but like an original image. Something that makes your audience think, what is the speaker going to say here? What are you going to say about this slide? I don't know yet. I want to hear. I want to listen to you because that's important. This slide, for instance, is a perfect example to illustrate my next point. Your slides should help you tell a story. And now I could tell you why, of course, but I'm just going to explain why I picked this slide. You can see it's one picture on a slide, which I like. It has impact, it's clear. You can read some text, but it's not really something I'm talking about. Once upon a slide, which is a pun on once upon a time. Slide refers to the slides. Once upon a time refers to a fairy tale, which is a story. And my point was, make sure your slides help you tell your story, which is what this slide is trying to do because it teaches you part of the lesson I'm teaching you. But when you just look at this slide, you don't really know what I'm going to say about this. So you need to listen to me, so I win. Keep that in mind. Be original. Make sure your readers want to find out what you're going to say about this slide. Very important. Very powerful as well. I could say it like this, make sure your PowerPoint helps you tell the story, but it loses a lot of impact. Everybody thinks this is worse than this one. Even though it's crappy and the background is pretty boring and it's bad Photoshop, nobody cares. What I normally see when I give this explanation is that pupils do something like this. They still want to keep a title. I don't know why. I told them to use pictures. I told them to use only one picture, but they'll keep doing this. There are two reasons why I don't like this. First of all, I made this honestly to make a good slide. When I showed this in class, the first class told me I made a mistake here. Because the song of Macklemore is not Can't Hold Us Down, which I thought it was, it's Can't Hold Us. So my slide already contains a mistake, my text contains a mistake. Why on earth would you risk making mistakes, which your audience is going to hate because you look like an amateur, if you can just use pictures and not make mistakes? So leave out as much of the text as you can, and it will always be better. Second problem I've got two pictures here. One talking about warm-up, one illustrating the song, obviously. If you can merge the two together, you have a better slide. I found this picture here. Victory Lap, which is a song of the same album Can't Hold Us, is on, and Macklemore is on a running track. Obviously, it seems like he's warming up. So I can add Macklemore, his song, and the warming up into this one image. But you don't know what song I'm going to talk about, and you don't know what phase of running I'm going to talk about, but this image is perfect. Only problem is that you've got two white sides here, of course. You can like copy paste the image and make it more transparent. I think you'll know how to do that. It's like doing this, and then, where is it? Opmaak opties in Google Slides. Aanpassingen, transparantie, and you make it as transparent as you want. So if you go higher, it's more transparent. And then you can copy paste the two sides once more, and it's a bit more elegant. Okay. I've got one more minute. The next thing I would strongly advise you to do is to use humour, if you can do that. And there's an easy way to do that, which really works well on your generation, which is use memes. If we're talking about running, these are some easy ones that I found. If you're talking about the phase where you're, for instance, very tired and you want to give up, you can use this one. Your audience will laugh. It's not haha funny, but at least they have like a spark of recognition that refers to their world, and they'll like it. You'll never have like people laughing really hard unless they're teachers, but it's better than like not using humor and having a very boring picture. This could work very well if you're talking about running and starting, and you don't want to start because you're tired or you don't feel like doing it. This is a perfect image that could illustrate. how you feel. Now, for my final slide, I also wanted to talk about Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop the Feeling because it's like the perfect running track. It has a perfect tempo, etc., etc. You can't stop the feeling of the endorphins in your brain or something like that, you could say. So it's a perfect song, and I found this meme here, which works really well to illustrate what you want to say, because this man obviously isn't a natural born runner, but he's doing it, and there's the text underneath. Beautiful thing, of course, is that you can make memes yourself in a very easy way, so that shouldn't be a problem, of course, for your generation. So use that to your advantage. You know your audience, it's your class, you know what'll tickle their funny bones, so to speak. As long as you don't cross lines and you keep everybody happy, because there will be a teacher involved as well, it'll work. So make sure to use that very powerful card to enhance what you're saying, because it'll work most of the time. Okay, so this was my little introduction to PowerPoints, the way I see them and the way most professional presenters use PowerPoint. If you've ever watched a TEDx, for instance, you'll notice most people barely use any words, any text in their visual aids, in their PowerPoints, in their Google Slides, because they never work. And obviously there's text here, but it's different. It's not what I'm saying, it's part of the image, so to speak, and then it doesn't really matter. It's not in the way. So that was what I want to say. I hope you've learned something, and I hope you can make the best PowerPoint you've ever made in your life. Good luck.